Hard, God I love that title, was released in 1988. It was directed by John McTiernan and stars Bruce Willis. The film follows a man named John McClane, played by Bruce Willis, and is visiting the Nakatomi Plaza for Christmas. However, unfortunately, a group of terrorists decide that they're going to take over the Nakatomi Plaza and hold everyone in it as hostage. Now, with 30 hostages and 13 terrorists, John McClane has to do everything he can to stop them. I decided that I wanted to review the Die Hard movies because I love Die Hard, and apparently this is a Christmas movie, so I thought, why not review it on Christmas Eve? Just because, why the hell not? Now, whether or not Die Hard is a Christmas movie is really up for debate, but let's just all agree that this is a fantastic movie. One thing you guys should know is that I absolutely love Die Hard. I have all 5 movies on DVD. Yes, even A Good Day. Unfortunately, I can't really fully judge because I actually haven't seen it, but I've heard terrible things about it. But I have the entire franchise on DVD. I am a huge Die Hard nut. I love Die Hard. I feel like that they're some of the best action films ever made. In short, I love Die Hard. And in fact, I do plan on reviewing the entire franchise. I've already seen and taken notes for not just this one, but 2 as well. And I'm currently taking notes for Die Hard with a Vengeance. Now, as I described, the story is really simple. In short, it's basically a group of terrorists takes over the Nakatomi Plaza and John McClane has to stop them. But honestly, I love it that way. The film doesn't waste any time. It just gives you the basics. It explains who we're following, some of his pros and cons, like some of his flaws, like he's having trouble with his wife and he has a fear of flying and all this stuff. So we see the vulnerability aspects of him, but we also cover the basics. Basically, he's a cop, he's vulnerable, group of terrorists takes over Nakatomi Plaza, he's the only guy left, he has to stop them. And then you have a non-stop 2-hour-long thrill ride. And it is amazing. This movie doesn't have any deep, serious underlying themes or anything like other action films like T2 has. But honestly, I don't really have any problems with it because all we can do is just sit back and be seriously entertained by it. But overall, the film is really well paced. While it is a fast-paced movie, it's not so fast that it's rushed. Like, we do still get the basics. We get to know a little bit about what John McClane is like before the action starts happening, because once the action starts, it's hectic throughout the entire film. And speaking of which, that leads to the characters, with our main protagonist, John McClane. And I'm going to be completely honest, John McClane is one of the most lovable characters I have ever seen. I love this guy. He's played by Bruce Willis, like I said earlier, and honestly, Bruce Willis kills it as John McClane. He just has so much passion, charisma, energy, and really, it's just great seeing Bruce Willis really bringing this character to life. Bruce Willis as John McClane makes this movie. I honestly think that you could have cast anyone else as John McClane, and the film wouldn't be anywhere near as good. Okay, maybe that's an extreme exaggeration, because everything else about the movie is fantastic, but really, the best attribute is Bruce Willis as John McClane. He's excellently written, like, he feels very human, but also the performance just really brings him to life. One of the reasons why he's so likable, other than Bruce Willis's amazing performance, is his dialogue, and my God, this guy's cocky. And he has so many one-liners as well. Such a great performance. So many one-liners. Extremely quotable. Honestly, Bruce Willis as John McClane has given me some of my favourite lines in all of cinema. And I'm not just talking about the infamous yippee-ki-yay line either. There are lots of other genuinely great moments. Like this moment.
Next time you have a chance to kill someone, don't hesitate. Thanks for the advice.
That cracks me up every time. That is definitely one of my favourite lines in the entire movie. And, of course, there is the line.
Yippee-ki-yay, mother...
Love that line. It's just such an epic line. It's possibly my favourite quote of all time. And honestly, I can see why it's so popular. It's so fun. It's just such a fun quote. So much so that it's actually been used at least once in every single Die Hard movie. I know some people are going to bring up Die Hard 4.0 or Live Free and Die Hard, whatever you want to call it. To me, it's Live Free and Die Hard. And I would disagree with you because the version I have on DVD is the uncensored version. So he says it in all 5 movies. I'll get more into that in my Die Hard 4 review, don't you worry. So as you can tell, John McClane is one of my favourite characters ever. I also love how human he is. He feels very authentic, like a real person. The main reason why is because he's very, very flawed. He is extremely cocky. You can be shooting him and pummeling him down to the ground to near death, and he would still be cracking jokes at you. Which honestly makes this movie extremely entertaining. That's why this movie is so fun. This is not an action movie that takes itself seriously. It decides to just have as much fun with it as it wants, and it's just incredibly entertaining. And that leads to John McClane leaving really cocky one-liners 24/7, making him very, very funny. I think that's the main reason why everyone loves this character so much. He's just such an entertaining character. Again, really only in a way that Bruce Willis would be able to deliver. But there's also a sense of humanity in him. While he is really, really cocky, however, he also does have a human side to him because he genuinely cares about people and human beings. That's one thing I love about this movie. Every death counts. Ironically, despite being called Die Hard, only a few innocent lives are lost in this film. There's only like 2 or 3 people that die in this movie, and every single one of them affects John McClane emotionally. He is destroyed. He's either really frightened or really upset or both about each and every individual innocent death. He's also constantly in peril. I feel like that the terrorists have the upper hand for pretty much 98% of the film. As he goes to try and stop these terrorists, he goes through hell. And it really makes him that much more rootable because not only is he extremely likable, but since he's being put through hell, we really want to see him come out on top and really put these terrorists in their place, which really makes the victory at the end that much more satisfying. Every shot in this movie, you can really see the fear and desperation he has on his face. He is just trying to get out of this horrible situation, and not only get out of it himself, but also get the other 30 hostages out of the situation. And another really clever thing they do with this movie is the fact that he's barefoot throughout pretty much the entire movie. That is something that is extremely creative, and I've never seen that in an action film before. Seeing an action film where the main character is going through the entire film with all these crazy action scenes completely barefoot. I've never seen that before in a movie. And there are also consequences. It actually affects him. Like, there are lots of times when he's near a bunch of windows and the terrorists are shooting all the glass, and so all the glass shatters and falls onto the ground. And so basically if he moves, he's going to step on the glass, cutting his feet. Seeing this happen to John McClane instantly makes us feel sorry for him. Honestly, it's his lovability and the fact that he's been put through hell throughout pretty much the entire film really makes this guy almost impossible not to root for. He's also really easy to sympathize with because we can easily put ourselves in his predicament. Because since he is going through so much hell, it's pretty realistic because we could really see the terrorists doing the exact same thing to us. It's really easy for us to put ourselves into his shoes and really feel what he's feeling, because he's such a vulnerable protagonist. However, he's also genuinely flawed. This is just overall a great character. I'm not too surprised they've made 5 movies with this guy in it, because he is so lovable. The other cop that is on the ground outside the building that's helping John McClane is also really likable, and pretty much the only likable other cop in this entire movie. Seriously, all of the other cops in this movie, aside from John McClane and this guy that's helping him, but all the other cops in this movie are complete jerks. We all love to hate these guys. There's also a news reporter in this film, and while he's not in the film for very long, there's something he does that makes him a complete jerk. Alan Rickman is fantastic as Hans. Brilliant, brilliant guy. I love his performance in this movie. Such a lovable villain. And the film itself holds up amazingly. The action in this movie is insane. The film has great sequences all around, but it isn't until you get to the climax where it gets really absurd. John McClane ties a hose and wraps it around his waist, and then jumps off the top of the building as it explodes, falls to a certain floor, and then he's shooting at the window, allowing him to swing into the building, probably the 30th floor, and suddenly the hose falls off the roof with John still attached to it, and so it's pulling him towards the window, and so he has to unwrap the hose before it pulls him off the building to his death. That is incredible. I love it. I love it. I love it. And there is not a single effect in this movie I think looks fake. It is not dated in the slightest. It holds up amazingly well. Die Hard is a phenomenal movie. It is one of the best action films I've ever seen in my life. I'd feel like an idiot not saying this. Die Hard gets an A+. I love this movie so much, I'm even thinking about coming up with a new catchphrase to end my videos. Yippee-ki-yay, movie lovers.